we are again at Code Quest, where we're looking for some keys that will help us unlock a secret message that is woven throughout the Bible. Once we discover these keys, we will know God better. I'm so excited, aren't you? Well, today's story is about two ordinary people who live an extraordinary life. Their names are Abraham and Sarah. Abraham is known as the father of the Jewish people. And if you know anything about Jesus, Jesus was born into a Jewish family. So I guess that makes Abraham pretty important, doesn't it? Well, there are so many stories about Abraham and Sarah, I just couldn't possibly tell them all to you. But there are a few things that I want you to know about him. At one point, Abraham and his family walked about 2,000 miles just because God asked him to. Let me tell you, that's like walking from Florida to Colorado. That's a pretty long walk that I don't think I could do. Do you think you could? Nah, I don't think you could either. That's a long ways, but Abraham did. Abraham also survived wars and famines, and he did some amazing things. Abraham also made some pretty big mistakes in his life, I gotta tell you. One of those was he lied to the Pharaoh, the prince of Egypt, right? The king of Egypt. He lied and got caught and somehow survived. And Abraham made a mistake that was so big that it actually still affects us today. But again, we don't have time to tell all those stories. We'll save those for another day. I want to talk about one story in particular. God made a promise to Abraham. He made a covenant with him, and that's what we're going to talk about. God promised Abraham that he would bless him and make a great nation out of him. And Abraham believed him, and it was counted to him as righteousness. Abraham's faith was counted as righteousness. And so he lived his life, he and Sarah, hoping that they would have children. And when Abraham was about 99 years old and Sarah was 90, Abraham grew a little concerned and had a talk with God and said, God, do you remember the promise that you made me? I'm not sure how that's going to happen now because I'm an old man and Sarah's an old lady. And God reminded Abraham, I have come to bless you. I'm going to make your name great. I'm going to bless all the nations and all the families of the world through you. And Abraham believed him. So here we have Abraham as an old man, Sarah as an old lady, and the only way they could have a son would be from a miracle of God. And so about a year later, guess what? Sarah had a baby. And when God had told Abraham and Sarah about the baby, you know what they both did? They both laughed about it. We don't know if they laughed about it because they thought it was a joke and so funny, or if they laughed because they were just filled with joy. But what we do know is that when their son was born, they named him Isaac, which means laughter. I think at that point they were just filled with joy. God had fulfilled his promise. God had given them a son, and through that son, the world would be blessed. So we're at that point where we're gonna pause the video. We're gonna find out the key to this story that unlocks the message of the whole Bible. So if you're ready, hit pause and go figure out the key. And if you're watching from home, make sure you click on the link in the description below, and there you'll find everything you need. Have fun, guys. Sweet! You guys did it again. You solved the key. They're getting a little bit harder, aren't they? Well, great job. I'm so proud of you. We found out that the key is Jesus is the blessing. So, How does that help us unlock the message of this story? My notes, once again, are telling me to look at a different verse in the Bible. Let's read it together. Galatians 3:14 says, "In Jesus, the blessing of Abraham might come to the Gentiles," and Gentiles are anyone who is not born a Jew, "so that we would receive the promise of the Spirit through him." With our key, Jesus is the blessing of Abraham. You see, Jesus, being a Jew, is Abraham's great, and a whole lot more greats, grandson. Jesus was directly related to Abraham, and he is the blessing. And through Jesus, when we believe in him, when we receive him into our lives, we get his Spirit, and his Spirit lives with us forever. And that is how Jesus became the blessing of Abraham, who blessed all the families of the world. Well, that's it for today. We've got 2 more stories. We're getting so close to unlocking that secret message in the Bible. I can't wait to see you again. Make sure you keep reading your Bibles, and I'll see you soon.